Well, hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I am back out here in the studio in the woods on a beautiful April morning. Got a bunch of American robins around here you're going to hear in the background, but we had a stretch of kind of crappy weather for a while, but it seems to be moderating a bit. So, and yeah, I haven't done a video in a while. Things got busy. I had a 2-day corporate event job come up, and when those things happen, I have to drop everything and kind of focus on that. But it's always nice to get a piece of work like that because it's a kind of a big bump to income. What I thought I'd do today, just do a quick video on the G9 Mark II. It's occurred to me that it's been about 4 months since I bought this camera, and I thought what I would do is talk a little bit more about it as far as, I've been using it. And for the most part, completely happy. Autofocus on this thing is just simply amazing, really good. No worries when you're doing videos, no worries at all for stills. Of course, there were really no worries with previous cameras like the G9 for stills. You run into continuous autofocus problems if you're trying to track a bird or something. I mostly got around that. I seem to get that to work just fine. But of course, it's better on this camera. But a couple things that have kind of stood out that this lacks. And one of them is something very interesting, and that is, the digital filters. There is no digital filter setting. It's a little artist palette, which on earlier cameras like the G9, I don't know if the G9 actually has it, but G9II has it. So you can switch it to that and pick all of these digital filters. You can still use digital filters on this, but you have to use the touch screen. There's that little artist palette on the right side of the touch screen, and if you touch that, you can turn that feature on. However, they've removed most of the digital filters. Who knows why? And I thought maybe there was something about this camera that somehow it didn't get them, but then I looked in the manual, and indeed, the only... I'm going to have to wait a little bit here while this jet goes over. So as I was saying, you get to the digital filters using the touchscreen, but the only ones that are on this camera now are expressive, retro, old days, which kind of sort of a sepia tone, high key, low key, actual sepia, which is more sepia, I guess, than old days, cross process, and bleach bypass. So if you're a fan of any of the others, and I was a fan of the dynamic monochrome filter, you're out of luck. They're not there, and who knows if Panasonic LUMIX will add them with a firmware update. I suppose the dynamic monochrome isn't really that huge of a deal because of the addition of the Leica monochrome profile, photo style. So you can adjust that, especially if you shoot it in RAW. If you can adjust that on a computer, probably look as high contrast as you want. The other thing that I find a little unusual is that for the video quality settings, and I'm going to link in the description to the page in the manual with those, but the video quality settings, the 420 settings actually use H265 HEVC, high efficiency video compression. They use that compression for those quality settings. Now if you go to 422, it uses the older AVC, which is H264, which is not as compressed. But they didn't give us the ability to use HEIF, high efficiency image format, or HEIF, which is what iPhones use, and I believe Canon has those available, and I believe Fujifilm does. In fact, I know Fujifilm does because I was watching a video on the X100VI talking about this. Now, is there some sort of limitation makes it so you can't use HEIF? I kind of doubt it. It looks to me like there is a processor limitation for video because of course, the more you compress, that's more computer intensive, more processor intensive. So H.265 is more taxing on a processor than H.264. So that sort of explains why 422 goes back to H.264 ABC, and in 420 they can get away with H.265 HEVC. But it seems to me that if the camera is able to shoot, 12, 14-bit RAWs, it should be able to have no issue shooting 10-bit HEIF. And why do I feel that's important? Well, you know, I tend, especially with photojournalism, especially with that corporate event shoot, I shot JPEG only. You know, you've got to turn stuff around really quickly. You're not going to spend a lot of time trying to adjust the JPEG, adjust the RAW files, other than maybe clicking auto tone in Lightroom when you have all of, and then syncing everything to that. There's no point because the JPEG comes out looking about the same. You know, there's not a whole lot you need to do with images like that I shoot for that. If I'm out in a hike or doing, you know, landscape photography where I'm seriously into doing that, I'll shoot RAW, really RAW plus JPEG. You know, sometimes the JPEG is fine. But with 10-bit HEIF, you have more ability to edit those files than you do with a JPEG because they're 10-bit. You don't have quite as much as you do with a higher bit, 12, 14-bit image, RAW image. But it may be all that a lot of people need, and of course they're smaller files. So it would be nice if Panasonic would, in a firmware update, if of course it's possible, and I believe it is, to add the ability to shoot HEIF files. I mean, that's the way the world's going. You know, it's going to become much more common to have HEIF file ability than JPEG ability, because JPEG is what, 30 years old. It's just not an efficient way of doing it. You can get a fair amount of artifacting with JPEGs. So those are my views on that. But to wrap it up, it's a beast of a camera, the G9 Mark II. It really is. I'm taking a walk today. I have just the plain Jane LUMIX 12 to 60 on here. I've got my 100 to 300 in the bag, and I also have the 9mm LUMIX Leica lens in the bag as well. I'm probably not going to use that much, but there's not a lot of places around here where you need that, but it's nice to have in the bag. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this? Folks have bought the G9 Mark II. Just let me know what you think. Any comments or questions, leave them down below. Bopping that like button is a big help to me. I'm Todd Banner. I will see you in the next video.